Hi, sorry, it's been a little while since I've updated on the tournament list, which is up there behind me, which I'll go through really quickly again. So I'm going to the Grand Tournament, the Heats 2, at the start of May, and I'm intending to take a Legion of Blood army. It's not completely set in stone, but it is the one that I'm fully focused on doing. I could at the last minute change to my backup, which is Nurgle, which would be a little safer, but I really like this one. Now, what it has in it is Neferata as the general, because it's Legion of Blood. Manfred, Prince Vordrai, and Necromancer as the characters. Then as battle line, we've got 2 units of Direwolves, just 5 Direwolves in each of those, a unit of 10 Chain Horde. Then we've also got a unit of 10 Grimghast Reapers and a unit of 5 Blood Knights. So I've tested this out in one 2,000 point game against a Tzeentch army. This is no good against a Tzeentch army. It has a number of downsides. Tzeentch has very, very powerful magic. And not just powerful magic in that you're going to have lots of casters in there, so you're going to have loads of things. Some things are going to get through. But the nature of the spells as well is particularly damaging against smaller units. Lots of mortal wounds flying around, all the rest of it. Also, the Tzeentch army has like the most powerful. I mean, Tempesters are pretty good, actually. They're one of the best units in the game. Tempesters for Stormcast Eternals. Ignore those at your peril. But you've got the Sangor Enlightened in a Tzeentch army, also a Beast of Chaos army. They'd definitely be in mine. And this particular player has a block of 6 of them. Very, very scary, because not only when they go in will they do a ridiculous amount of damage. When I just tried out in a 1,000 point game with this, it completely wiped out my Blood Knights in one go. Okay, it was a little bit lucky to have done that, but it was always going to do a massive amount of damage. So they do a ridiculous amount of damage. They can do even more damage if they allow themselves to go second in the combat as well. And if they've got a Sangor Shaman near them, they do even more damage. To the point where they then become the best unit in the game in terms of the damage it can mete out in a combat phase. But tied to that is also the fact that they're extremely fast and mobile. They have a very, very long range movement value and can fly, of course. So they can go all sorts of things, ridiculously destructive. But then there are other things that are very, very destructive that I could come up against as well. So, for example, what I did with that is I was quite cagey as I was going forward, and I went forward with a few things. And the Blood Knights showed their mettle in the end, because actually my Blood Knights are very similar to them. They don't have such the long range. They can't fly, although Neferata's got a spell that can make them fly if she can get it off. But they are also, in a Legion of Blood army, Blood Knights are super destructive. And just to highlight this, so the 1,000 point game, as I say, the Sangor Enlightened ran into my Blood Knights, completely wiped them out, and then basically wiped everything else out. But in this game, I was holding them back a bit. I went forward with a few things. It was a little unfortunate. I went forward with Manfred, for example. I intended to go forward with Manfred and Prince Vordrai. I actually came a cropper. Prince Vordrai, unlike a normal vampire lord on zombie dragon, the zombie dragon against a decent sized unit doesn't have to roll to hit. What you do with a pestilent breath from a zombie dragon normally is you roll a d6. If the number is less than or equal to the number of models in the unit, then you don't have to roll to hit. So against a unit of 6 or more, you don't have to roll to hit. So I went and I tried to destroy the Flamers. Now, there are 2 very, very nasty units in a Tzeentch army. Sangor Enlightened and Flamers. Neither of them are battle lines, so you have to have other things as well, but you would always take those. They're like, nothing else is any good in a Tzeentch list. Skyfires are sort of okay. But the problem... So I tried to get Prince Vordrai in there, because his zombie dragon just does straight up... Its breath does straight up 6 mortal wounds, unless he's taken damage. But before he's taken damage, 6 mortal wounds. But you do have to roll for that, and I completely forgot about that. I plonked it down there, and I just went, cocky as you like. Right, that'll be 6 mortal wounds then. And he went, what, do you have to roll for it? And I went, oh, actually, yeah, I do for this one. It's not a normal pestilent breath. Right, and all I had to do was get a 3 up. That was it. 3 up. Got a 1. Nice one. So that failed. That was disappointing. But then Manfred ran into them and did enough wounds to wipe out this unit of 6 Flamers. Problem with Flamers is, though, they come back. So when a Flamer dies, the Tzeentch player rolls a d6. For each one that dies, rolls a d6. On a 6, you bring 2 back. So the problem with this one is several times I kept whittling them down, so there's only like 1 left and they come back. Basically, across the whole game, I destroyed 15 Flamers. And at the end of the game, there were 7 left. Because there's also a spell that replenishes them as well. It's all hideous. Absolutely hideous. Siege, I don't know why more people don't take Tzeentch armies seriously in these tournaments. You always see like a few. But when I look at lists of what people have taken, you don't see a great many of them. And I'm not sure why, because they are exceptionally destructive. Unfortunately, in my case, I don't really like the style of Tzeentch. You know, I like magic, you know, and they've got that going for them. And there's a number of units in it that I like as well. I mean, Flamers and Sangor and Enlightened, yeah, brilliant. But somehow, I don't know, I don't like it. It's a bit like when I used to play Warhammer Online, the MMO, and the chaos there was very Tzeentch themed, and I didn't like that. And I don't know what it is about it, but I've never been very keen on it from a stylistic point of view. That's just me. But so what I maybe regret doing was not going gung-ho with everyone. Because the other thing is, even though I went in with Manfred and Prince Vordry, the intention was to smash into the front lines with them. Again, being Tzeentch and having Kairos, the Fate Weaver, meant that he could scupper one of my charge rolls. Because, you know, I got a charge roll off with both of them, plenty good enough. But, you know, he just once per battle, he can just take one of your die, which the first time I did it, I thought, no, there's no way you can do that. But apparently you can. Just take one of my dice rolls and just say, right, that's now a 1. So on a charge roll, so right, that big number you've just rolled, that's a 1. Does that add up with your other die roll to give you a charge? No, it doesn't. And unless you want to spend a command point or have a command, you might not have a command point to spend. Because actually one good thing about Legion of Blood is they've got quite a number, in these characters, there's quite a number of command abilities that are very useful. One really good feature of any sort of one of these Legions of Nagash lists is that when a summonable unit is destroyed, you can bring it back as long as you've got a character near a gravesite and you can set them up near that gravesite. You can bring them back. So I was doing that. I mean, I got my Grimgrass Reapers destroyed completely. That's fine. I sacrificed them, brought them back again. So I didn't have a command point to do that with. So Manfred, even though he completely wiped out that unit of Flamers, then ended up getting killed himself. Prince Vordry then ended up getting killed. Really annoying. And maybe what I should have done was got Neferata, because Neferata hung back a bit. But at that point, the problem with these is, particularly Manfred and Neferata, they're very good, the good magic and all the rest of it. They are glass cannons, though. They can't take punishment. They don't have a hideous number of wounds. They don't, you know, when I compare them to the ironically cheaper Nurgle options I would have, like Great Unclean One, things like that, but more particularly a Great Unclean One, that's got more wounds, and of course it's got disgustingly resilient, so it's much more survivable, and the ability to heal wounds each time now as well. Now, these guys can heal, but they have to do it in combat by attacking something, and if they get themselves killed in that combat, it doesn't help them at all. So yeah, they are glass cannons, and that is a worry in a way. The whole thing is really, you know, there isn't anything that can take a load of punishment, but there is things that can do a load of damage. Now, I was going to talk about the Blood Knights there. So what happened was it all came in there. The Sangor Enlightened came and eventually smashed into Neferata, wiped her out. She didn't get to do anything really. She did nothing of use in the old battle in the end, because I held her back and then she got charged. Because these things have a ridiculous range. They just can zoom right across the battlefield. But my Blood Knights charged into them afterwards and showed that they wiped them all out. So there's 6 Sangor Enlightened. So at the time they had 22 wounds left. I had caused 2 wounds on them. But because a full unit that size was 24 wounds. And yeah, the Blood Knights completely wiped them out. Because on the charge, they're especially destructive. Because they have a lot of attacks, very good chances to hit and wound. But on the charge, their lancers do D3 not mortal wounds, but wounds. So yeah. But that's the thing. Both of those units very, very destructive. So the Blood Knights have shown themselves to be very destructive. They need to, even when they've not got a charge on, they can still do a lot of attacks. They will still cause a lot of damage. But it's on the charge where they really excel. But of course, if they themselves get charged, then the danger there is that they could suffer some casualties. That's why the Dark Mist spell from Neferata is so useful, because it not only allows me to direct it onto a friendly death unit, say the Blood Knights, it allows them to fly, but it also means that their armor save can't be modified. Now, Blood Knights technically do, it's a disadvantage against a weaker unit, because if Blood Knights are attacked with damage that has no rend, then their armor save goes from 4 up to 3 up. But with Darkness, that wouldn't apply. But what it means is it makes them a bit like Nighthaunt, in that rend won't have an effect on it. So they're always going to have a 4-up save against it. Now, all I need to do is train them to actually be able to roll 4-ups on armor saves, or saves in general, and that'll be fine too. So in terms of how it sort of worked out, like I say, the Nurgle one will be safer, and that's why I'm keeping that in my back pocket. I've assembled my Chimera now. I need to just paint it, undercoat and paint it. The final model I need to sort out for my Nurgle list is Rotigus. I need to assemble him, but I can get that done this week. And then next week, Easter, and I should be able to do a few more reports of how it's going. I want to make sure that they're painted as well. So the Nurgle army will be ready to go if at the last moment I just think, do you know what, it's just a bit too glass cannony. Whereas with Nurgle, it's just like, might I go first or second? I'll just charge it all up, and it's like, yeah, try and kill me if you like. Because I know I'm going to get another chance at it. The problem with these is if I throw something forward, and I'm going to need to, like my character, well, any units, but, I don't necessarily know that they'll get to do some damage before I'm destroyed, because they can be wiped out in one go. That's the thing. And that's the danger with it. But if you can gain the initiative, if you can control the board, then you can do really well with it. The issue is there, of course. You can if I feel that I could be at the mercy of who gets to go first in battle rounds, because some people may get a double turn, for example. If I feel I'm at the mercy of that, then I may well fall back on them. But so far, I'm quite happy with it. It's just not effective against Tzeentch. That doesn't mean to say that I couldn't beat a Tzeentch army with it. It's just going to be trickier and may rely on a little bit of luck. But like I say, what I've tended to see in these tournaments is far more issues like Daughters of Cain, Iden of Deepkin, I suppose Flesh Eater's Courts now as well, Stormcast Eternals. These are the ones ideally I would get to play against to try and see how it is, and I won't be able to. So I don't want to be put off by that. But anyway, that's how it's going so far. Let me know, comments down below as well. If you've got any thoughts. And as I say, from next week, I've been really busy so far, but get a couple of weeks off over Easter and should be able to report on a few more things as well. So thanks for listening. Until next time, I'll see you later.